Welcome back to the Shine Within podcast. Cindi Buckley is an author and guide who facilitates profound personal growth by connecting individuals to their higher guidance. With experience in navigating through her own life's transitions, including overcoming depression and physical challenges, Cindi has dedicated 2 decades to supporting others in transformative journeys. Her book, Love Awakens You, delves into the dichotomy of love and fear, offering readers a unique approach to self-improvement that eschews common self-help methods in favor of intuitive and direct engagement with the text. Having authored Cosmic Unity and as a student of A Course in Miracles, Cindi continues to inspire and encourage self-discovery, leading to greater peace, happiness, and self-confidence. Her work is not only a testament of personal resilience, but also a beacon for those seeking to emerge from life's adversities with a renewed sense of purpose. Wow, Cindi!
Wow, that was beautiful, by
Oh,
the way. Wow, that was so well said. Wow.
oh, you do beautiful things. So, of course, you're going to need a beautiful introduction.
Wow.
Thank you so much for being on my show today. I'm so excited to speak with you.
Thank you for having me. This is going to be fun, I can tell.
Always, always, I'm all about fun. And I would love for you just to go ahead and tell us a moment you decided to write Love Awakens You and what actually sparked this transformative journey.
Oh, well, I'll start with what sparked this transformative journey. Actually, when I was a child, maybe 10 or 12 years old, probably 10, I can remember adults coming to me and asking me questions, very adult questions. What should they do here? What should they do there? And I would answer them, thinking, well, they asked me a question, I'm going to answer it. I didn't know 10-year-olds weren't supposed to answer adult questions at the time. And I did that, and it's kind of helped my mother, I think, tried to push me into constantly asking me questions like that to open me up more to my intuition. So it started at a very young age. Of course, you get into the 20s and 30s, and your credit card debt builds, and okay, maybe you drink too much alcohol and you do all the things you're not supposed to do, but you got to experience them in anyways. Well, it was when I started working. I worked in logistics and corporate software consulting. And at my last job, I was a contract job. I was doing contract jobs at the time, mapping business processes. And I loved doing it because I could write out a flow chart of what existed and then how to change it to map it to their software so that it would flow better, right? Just loved doing that. Well, it got to the end, and I did this really big flow chart. I mean, huge flow chart. And I was sitting at my desk, and I was mapping another part of the business. And I had a couple questions, and the guy came to me, and the person I was working for was sitting next to me and said, "You know more about this company than anyone else." Well, she didn't like that. So she said to me later, the IT manager hated your flow chart. And I thought, wow, that didn't make sense to me. It was a good flow chart. I mean, it really did, smooth things out. And they weren't super major changes or anything. But I thought, well, okay, he hated it. Nothing I can do about that. Finally, I decided it was time to go because I'd mapped all the business processes I was supposed to map, and there wasn't anything really left for me to do. So I said it's time for me to go. And so I had an exit interview with the IT manager and the person I was working for. And I got up to close the office door. And when I looked at the back of the office door, he had both of these flow charts on the back of the door. She lied to me.
Oh, no.
And I said, okay, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. What am I supposed to do now? And it just sort of flowed into, I always knew as a child I was going to go to a psychic. And I did go to a psychic, and she had this crystal underneath a feather. And when I picked the crystal up, the inside of the crystal turned to liquid. And I went, oh my God, I'm not ready for this. I put the crystal back, pretended like I never did it. And when I left her office, everything was so clear and bright and colorful sounds, and it was just amazing. And about 6 weeks later, I called her for another appointment. And at the end, she said, "Is there anything I can do for you?" And I said, "Well, yes, there's this crystal you have." And she said, "Okay, it's yours." Then she told me this story. She said about a year earlier, the crystal told her that it no longer belonged to her and to bury it. And so she, about a year later, just before my appointment with her, unburied it and brought it into her office. But she didn't know who it belonged to. And because I asked for it, she gave it to me. By the way, it's like 22 years later, and I still have that crystal. I also have a whole lot more crystals. So it started me on a journey of trying a variety of different metaphysical or alternative healing methods. And the one that I, of course, gravitated to was crystals. And I do crystal healings, and I help people through, various transitions in their life.
That's amazing. I literally, on Mondays, I normally have like, I do two podcasts. The one literally right before you, she used a crystal healer.
Ah, there you go.
So I was just learning about crystals just right now. And then you're talking about crystals. I'm like, oh wow, this is so neat. I love this. And she was just sharing with me about crystals and liquid and the benefits and how she uses them and misconceptions of them. And I'm just like, oh wow, this is appropriate. This is great. Um, in my experience with crystals, yes, I've heard about the whole burying thing. My ex-husband, this is back in 2005 or something, 2006. Oh, I don't know, 2007. And he introduced me to crystals and I just thought they were just beautiful. I was like, oh, they're so pretty. I thought they were just decoration, but I didn't know the properties that they held and what they can do to you. And so I had this beautiful rose quartz crystal. I had a cluster crystal, and then I think it was just like a clear quartz crystal. And it was just so beautiful. And I would actually have to bury them. And I heard I would put them in moonlight at night and do all these different things. And I don't know. I always felt like I had good energy with them. I mean, they were nice.
Well, there are three things that remind us of our true homes, which is not here on Earth, by the way, but they remind us of our true homes. That's birds is one, flowers is the other, much less popular is crystals. The thing with crystals is they carry all four of the elements of Earth. They carry vibration, frequency, color, and sound.
Mm.
And that's what people get attracted to, whatever it may be, the energy of the crystal, the color, the shape. I don't know, it can be a whole variety of different things. I
Yeah.
actually do crystal healings, and it's amazing. I've seen some real amazing growth in people. It's wonderful to see.
Yeah. Oh, that's so neat. Now, going to your book, your book promises a connection to higher guidance through the understanding of love versus fear. How did you come to realize the power of this contraindication, I guess, in our lives?
Well, about 20 years ago, I started, a friend gave me the book Disappearance of the Universe from Gary R. Renard. And I started reading it and I said, oh my God, I have to get A Course in Miracles. So I read The Disappearance of the Universe. I read A Course in Miracles. I did the workbook in A Course in Miracles at the same time, which I highly recommend people don't do. I was in a rush. You don't have to rush. Everything happens when it's supposed to. And my ego got challenged so much. But at the same time I was reading these, all these inspirational sayings came in. And I'd be out in a restaurant saying, I need a piece of paper. I'd write on a napkin. You should have seen the collection of papers I had all over. Literally, it took about 18 years later, I decided, maybe I should do something with them because, it would be helpful for people. Well, I realized as I was writing the book, which is written into 5 sections, and it's supposed to gently unlock your true self by releasing fear and letting love in, that it's the way the words put together that help you to release and unlock. If you think of like a key going into a lock, okay, and a tumbler turns, and when the tumbler turns, a little light comes out. And then you turn the key a little more and another tumbler turns. And guess what? A little more light comes out. Well, this is what happens with the book. Really, you don't have to do any affirmations or journaling or self-help protocols. You read the book slowly because it works on your subconscious and conscious mind. But by reading the book, you become aware of things that you weren't aware of before, and you go, oh, I think I need to change something. That little seed of either discontentment or change is what opens the doorway for you to connect to your intuition. Because you've said, I need to change something, and guess what? All the help you need is going to be arriving because now you've asked for help. Not maybe consciously, but you've asked for help. They'll be there to help you.
Yes, it reminds me of a story of when I was in despair and deep in my alcoholism, and I knew I needed to change. I didn't want to live like that anymore. I was like, I need to change. And so I literally called out, I said, God, I wasn't spiritual religious at the time. I was like, God, I need help. I cannot do this alone. I really had to surrender in order for me to get that help. And that's what happened. Sure enough, though, but I was hospitalized. It was a blessing in disguise. I was hospitalized 2 weeks later with pancreatitis. And there's this doctor scolding me, you need to change. I'm like, you're going to die within 10 years, if you don't change. And then I took her very seriously. And I took my experience very seriously. And I decided to change that day. I was like, okay, literally, I decided, okay, I'm here in the hospital. I know I'm going to be detoxing anyway, which is the best because I needed that medical detox. Otherwise, I couldn't do it by myself. And then that was it. I never drank one little sip of alcohol. I had no desire, no nothing. So I literally had to call out. So I agree with you. Once you do ask for help,
Oh
it
my
will
God.
come.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah. Now, you actually mentioned that fear is pervasive and often unrecognized. How can you share like an experience where you identified fear in your life and how did you address it?
Well, one of the things about fear is judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. All my life, what's been happening to me is I would say something and to someone, and it could be a day, a week, a month, years later, they'll be repeating back to me exactly what I said to them as if it was their own idea.
Mm.
And I would go, wait a minute, I told you that. I get credit for it. And I'm like, all right, this isn't really working for me because it doesn't make me feel any better. That one, I said it to them. Two, I didn't get credit. So I'm feeling miserable. So, and this went on for years. And finally, I'm talking to my guides, and they said, you know what? Why don't you think of it as being an ascended master in training? You should learn to accept you don't need validation. What you should do, well, not should, but what you could do is be grateful they got the message. This is how I learned, wait a minute, I was in ego, I was in fear, I wanted validation, but I was making a judgment that I deserved something. But I didn't deserve anything. My job now is to just help people and not have an expected expectation of what I think should happen. Once you let that go, it is amazing how you can just be free to help someone go on your way and know that they're being helped in whatever way is best for them, not for you. And okay, I admit every now and then I still go, wait a minute, I said that because, I feel like I need a little credit. And I've gone back into ego and fear, yes. I have to then forgive myself because, yes, I still actively practice forgiveness. Um, but it's happening much less, much less. So that's a good thing. I'm
Oh,
learning.
Oh yeah, be led by the spirit, not the ego.
Very important.
Yes, and I remember too, like okay, so like I'm guilty sometimes. I like to watch TikTok, I post my stuff on there too. Um, and then I would see these videos. They're like this guy, he'd be like, come watch me do this, and he would go to like some like perhaps somebody and give like a lot of money to them, a lot of food if they saw that they were needing food on the street. But he wanted that credit. He wanted that praise, you can tell, like, look what I'm doing, look what I'm doing. Yes, you're doing a good thing, but do you really need to be showing this all on camera? I found so much joy doing street ministry, but I never did it because I wanted someone to praise me for it. I did it because I wanted to have these conversations and I wanted this experience and I wanted to create an impact in the individual's life that I'm conducting like an energy exchange with, and so that's all I cared about. But it's so interesting how sometimes our ego kind of like kicks in there.
It's a devious little thing. It gets in places you think I am just fine.
Yeah.
I'm perfect. I'm wonderful. Oh yeah, no, that's ego. Yep. You know
Yeah.
what? We all have lessons to learn and it just doesn't stop. The question is, two questions. How long do you want to suffer? And you gotta let it go. Really.
Right. Yeah, let it go. And I notice like when I'm having conversations with people and you could just know they're not fine and you're just like, "Oh, how's it going? I'm fine. I'm good." It's like I can feel it in my heart that they're not good. I really was hoping to get like an honest answer. Like when people ask me, "How are you doing?" I'll be like, to be honest, today is not a good day. I wish it could be much better, but I woke up, I have a headache, and I just having a little bit of inner conflicts within myself. I'm feeling a little bit like lower self-esteem today. I don't know why. It's just part of the human experience. Like we're all experiencing these things. We're not, but it's just so interesting that people would just be like, I'm fine. I'm fine. I used to be like that though. So I know what it's like. I used to be like that.
Me, not so much. You knew what I felt. Yeah, it's like, let's blare it out there. Everybody's gonna know. But then you figure out, well, they don't need to know unless it's a lesson for them as well. But I must say, all lessons are your lesson, regardless.
Right. Now, unlike many self-help books, and I know we kind of like talked a little bit about this, yours does not require affirmations or journaling.
Nothing.
Why do you choose to forgo these common practices, and how does your approach differ?
Well, I chose to forgo them because if I was to go on about my story, about all my physical issues and ailments and things that actually are very helpful for people to hear, and it's inspiring, but it doesn't tell them how to do it. And there are a plethora of books out there, of questions you write in a journal, and it's very helpful for people. I am not saying it isn't, but then I realized a better way of helping people is to try and put the words together in such a way that they realize it on their own. And by doing that, the impact lasts longer.
It does. I notice when I read a book and say I finish it, and then I come back to the book, I will learn something brand new that I was like, hey, how come I missed that? What's
I
going
know.
on? It's so neat. Like we needed to read that message at that time. And then now when we come back to it, it's like, okay, this is the message I need to know now. And so it's so neat how the world works like that way. So yeah, I need to get your book because I'm very curious and I really am wanting to delve in there and just see what comes up because every day is probably different, huh?
Well, every day is different. It's easy to read. All you have to do is read it. I do recommend you read it slowly because we took eons to get into fear. We're not going to get out of fear overnight. It takes time, and that's okay. You're going to get there. I was always in a rush, and I finally learned you can't rush whatever your journey is. You can learn what you need to learn. I mean, I tried many different modalities of healing, and the one that I found to be most effective, regardless if you believe it or not. That was the issue for me, was the crystals. People don't have to believe it. They will work on you because it's like this energy that radiates. The book is the same way. It is written based on universal truths. I use the word Holy Spirit and God not in a religious sense, but only to represent a presence greater than myself. Um, and the book will help you. Here's the thing, most people won't realize that later on it was the book that helped them. They will think, oh, something else did, or someone said something, and maybe that's true, maybe it's not true, I don't know. What is true is it will help you.
That's awesome. Now, could you actually explain how the act of writing this book played a role in your own healing and understanding of love and fear?
Um, well, I had to sit down with, I had to write all the different elements of fear and love that are in this book, Love Awakens You. There is a second book, and it goes more in depth and it dives deeper into releasing fear. Um, I don't really know. It was just something that I knew I had to do. I would sit down and I'd sit with my pad of paper and pen and I would say, okay, what do you want me to talk about? What do you want me to say? What is it? What message do you want to get across? Because I'm really just the facilitator.
Mm,
I just want to make sure people realize I'm the facilitator. The book will remind you who you are and what you need to do to get where you're looking for. Okay, because we don't always know what we need. We think we know what we want, but we don't know what we need.
yeah.
And by listening to your guidance, you're going to get something completely different than you think. Maybe it's the same thing, maybe it's not. But what I can say is it will be way better than you possibly imagined. And that is from reading the book because it helps you to understand things like denial, judgment, individuality, um, competition, conflict, comparing yourself to someone else, comparison. If you compare yourself to someone else, guess what? You're belittling yourself
Mhm.
into nothingness.
Right.
It's very subconscious, but it does happen. And as long as you keep comparing yourself and don't give yourself value, you're not going to get where you want to get. You might if you're a bully and you are mean and you follow ego's rules, but you won't be happy
Mhm.
and you won't have any peace.
Yeah, that's so true. I do find a lot more joy in my life now that I've kind of let go, like you said. Once you let go and don't take things so serious in this world, life becomes so much easier. And I just wish like everybody had that mindset. So I think your book is definitely a first step to having people awaken their inner guidance. What is another step someone else can take if they want to go ahead and awaken that guidance?
Well, you could always read Disappearance of the Universe from Gary R. Renard. I recommend reading that first before reading A Course in Miracles, only because it helps you to understand A Course in Miracles better. It's written in a conversational format. Um, uh, through his life experiences and how A Course in Miracles would help in that way, because some of the things presented in both books may be shocking to people, but it does help you to release fear because you can make friends with the ego, you can pretend it doesn't exist, you can say, well, I don't feel like being ego today. Well, that's ego, by the way. So there's a long list of things that people try to do to appease ego. There is no appeasing ego. You can only undo it, and it's a long process. It's a very long process. It can take this lifetime, it can take more than one lifetime. I know myself from reading A Course in Miracles and doing the workbook twice because I needed to do it twice, 7 years apart, that I've saved a lot of lifetimes. I can just look and go, oh, wow. Not everyone has the ability to do that, but you can get a sense and you go, yeah, oh, wow. And you go, oh, nice. I still have more to go. That's the thing. You're always going to have more to go as long as you're in a body. Enlightenment only happens when you're in a body. It doesn't happen when you're not here.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Now, what actually has been the most significant change in your life after embracing the messages of your own work?
Well, believe it or not, halfway through the process of publishing this book, I self-published it, I had a panic attack. And I said, I'm not doing this. I'm very happy being a hermit. I don't want to go out in the world. I like doing nothing. I like it. I'm like doing it. And I'm tirading and I'm ranting and raving for a day, by the way. My guides are ignoring me. They're just chuckling. They're letting me go off because, I got to vent and get it out of me. And then I realized, oh, okay, I can do it. Let me meditate. Let me calm myself down. And if it wasn't, believe it or not, for reading and writing my own book, many times as you edit it, you read it, I wouldn't have the self-confidence to get up and stand up in front of people or speak like this in podcasts to be able to talk about it.
Oh, yeah. So it's like, yeah, your own story. It's like your proof right there when you're reading your own book.
I know it is like I'm not doing. I can't do it. If you had seen my panic attack, I mean, it was incredible. And finally, I calmed myself down and said, "No, this will be helpful for people. I need to do this." And really, it gave me the self confidence to be able to. Even though I was a student of Course in Miracles and I read all that, it was my own book that helped me.
That is so cool. I love that. I love that. Now, for our listeners who are like, okay, I want to get this book like today, where can they go ahead and access it?
Oh, it's available at Amazon. Um, It is also available now at any of your favorite local stores that sell ebooks. I'm working on getting the paperback available into bookstores, but anywhere you like your favorite ebook, Amazon. The audiobook, although, is just become available and it's only available on Amazon. I know a lot of people like audiobooks.
Oh, yeah, it's convenient for sure. That's awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I'd like to tell people, please learn to trust your intuition and learn to accept it. That's the hard part. You can hear it, feel it, or know it, or whatever, way you get your information. Um, the question is trusting it. So here, how long do you want to suffer? Everybody, please learn to trust your intuition. You want to make sure it's with kindness and compassion and lots of love, and then just follow it. That's the hard part. And I should know I've made numerous mistakes. So give it a try, everybody. It's just a wonderful way.
That's awesome. And I know for our listeners who also maybe want to perhaps follow you on social media or maybe perhaps find you online, where can they find you?
You can find my website, Cindi, Cindi, two I's, Buckley, Buckley. I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. If you go to my website, and I do a monthly blog where I take an inspirational saying and I expand it out so you can apply it to your everyday life. It goes back to March of last year. Um, Also, on my website is a free guided meditation. It's short, 5.5 minutes. I've had people tell me that it's very soothing and very calming. So give it a try. It's free.
That's awesome. I may just give that a try after we and record here. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Cindy, for coming on my show. Really had a nice talk with you, and I cannot wait to look into your book and learn what I can learn every
You'd
day.
be surprised.
Definitely. Thank you.